Thank you, Eli. So, good afternoon. I'm Pierre Frouge. I'm a portal business developer with Smile, which means I deal with portal and Java WCM solutions, so Jahia first among them, and Liferay. Today I'd like to talk to you about a recent website platform we have implemented, which is the Ville de Nantes platform. And I'd like to show you how Jahia features match are a very good match in a global website factory context. So I will try to go back and forth between a generic point of view of the key features that one needs to set up a large communication platform. And each time I will try to give example of how it was implemented in the Ville de Nantes project. So since I only have half an hour, I won't go very far into Jahia features, which are numerous. But I will focus on three main subjects, which are all the features that Jahia provides in the content lifecycle, how you can achieve platform industrialization, which is one of the main subjects of this event, and I will finish with a focus on business integration and how you can merge WCM needs with business applications. But first, some very quick marketing slides. For those who don't know Smile, who are we? We are the leading European open source solution integrator. That means that we only deal with open source solutions. We are more than 700 now, with, as you can see, the PowerPoint from Windows to Mac convention has some border issues, but we achieve 25% growth per year. We have more than 20 years of experience in open source. One of our specificity is to weave strong technical partnerships with a lot of open source vendors, and Jahia was the first among them, I guess. And last year we did more than 45 million euros in turnover. We have 17 offices in 8 countries, still with a focus on growth. In the following years, we aim at opening in UK and Germany. You can access our knowledge and expertise in a lot of white papers that are available on the Smile.fr websites. They are quite successful and have been downloaded more than 100,000 times last year. So feel free to take a look. Most of them are unfortunately in French, but some are translated and more are internationalized every year. We do not focus in a specific area of work. We deal with every sector where there are interesting open source projects, and so today more than half of the biggest French companies work with us on open source projects. Quickly, how Smile is structured. We are built around 5 business lines, which are conceived to address specific client needs. So we have the web business line, which aim at serving every communication web platform needs. We have the e-commerce, business line, which will aim at setting up web shops and sell platforms. We also have collaboration and enterprise content business line with all that is extranets, portals, and electronic content management. And 2 more business lines dealing with business information systems and all that is infrastructure, hosting, and so on. In this business line, we provide a complete scope of services from consulting to digital production, training, but the bulk of the troops are, of course, in engineering. We are an engineering company at core, so maybe 3/4 of our staff are engineers. That's it for the Smile market instinct. I just want to expand on what Ellie said. We have been partners with Jahia since 2003. I've been thinking about it. I think it's the first partnership we ever made for 11 years, so it's pretty old. Today we are both gold and sapphire partners with more than 50 Jahia experts and to the last head count between 15 and 20 certified developers in 6.1, 6.5, 6.6, and now maybe tomorrow 4 more 7 Jahia 7 certified. We lead more than 15 large-scale projects per year, and we think we are one of the topmost partners for Jahia in Europe. And you have at the back of the slide some of our biggest projects. So that's it for the marketing part. Let's get on to business. First, I'd like to introduce the context and the scope of the Ville de Nantes Nantes Métropole project. For those of you who don't know this city, it's the 6th French town. It sports 300,000 inhabitants, twice in the urban area, with a nice growth because it adds 20,000 inhabitants every year, with more than 10,000 agents for the city. It has a very active IT ecosystem, and a lot of big French companies have their IT department in Nantes. So, for example, La Poste, which is the National Post Office, the Foreign Affairs Ministry, the SNCF, which is the National Railroad Company, Thales, DJI, which is the taxis office. For this project, just before this project started in 2012, the Ville de Nantes just deployed an e-démarche project which allowed inhabitants to perform their administrative processes online. And after the project, they wanted to implement a new communication strategy. So this project is led by the communication department of the city with the support of the IT department of the whole urban area. It aimed at transitioning the old website to new uses with mobility responsive, and there was a lot of user expectations to have access to current and reference information. So this objective declined into a new graphical identity as a first step, and evolving toward a service-oriented portal. An interesting point, the communication team wanted to evolve to a very structured content approach with big information folders, detailed content structure, so they can centralize and diffuse them, and also integrate with business databases. And as it's a public website, it is a certain level of accessibility is required. So Smile had already done a first version in 2009, which was under Jahia 5, and this Jahia 6.6 update was aimed at providing the team with fast website creation capabilities, use all the new interfaces that were introduced in the 6.5 with streamlined content creation, multi-site management, and in the long run, they want to provide dedicated user spaces for every citizen in the city. So for now, the roadmap the first step was to establish a technical basis, both with a simple Jahia basis and a specific part to access the reference data. And by reference data here, I mean, for example, all the events in the urban area, that may be citywide events, music concerts, or other manifestations. The second step was the NANTE.FR overhaul, and after this first step, the aim was to use the platform that was put in place to provide quickly new websites. So the NANTE.FR news website went online on March 2000 of this year, after 3 months of heavy development, using an agile methodology and 2 weeks iteration. So in the roadmap, now we are just after the second bullet point, and we are developing new websites, which I cannot tell you about because of election concerns. So we have a blackout of communication before elections, so we have a lot in the pipes, but we cannot communicate about it. So, the first big subject to illustrate Jahia-wide capabilities are the features that Jahia provide in the content lifecycle. When you implement a big content platform, your corpus of content will grow and grow, and so you must have a dedicated feature to help you manage this massive content at every step of its life cycle, in its creation, in peer review, in publishing, in maintaining, and in translating. Since Jahia is a state-of-the-art WCM, it provides a lot of these tools. So, as I said before, I don't have time to present to you every one of them. But if you know, if you have already used Jahia, you know that to manipulate content, when you create or edit a content, Jahia provides you with a toolbar, which are called the content engine, which in my opinion, is a good way to illustrate the power of Jahia, because you can see that you can do a lot of action on a specific content. And what's quite interesting is that you can map these tabs to the content lifecycle. You can say that some of these tabs are dedicated to content creation, some are dedicated to content publishing, and you can see that some are dedicated to content maintaining. And I will like to use these 3 important steps to illustrate some key features. So, content creation. This may not be the case in Ville de Nantes, where there is only a dozen contributors. But if you take into account a bigger scope of a global website with several dedicated teams for administration and contributions, you can see that you will need a way to create content that will be adapted according to the skills, the contribution frequency, the volume of each administration. And to answer this issue, Jahia has a very powerful way of dealing with content with these several interfaces. You have the contribute mode, which is a very simple interface. You just have to click on the content. No training is needed to update your website. You have the edit mode, which can be called a global what you see is what you get. With your website, as it will be after you have published it, which is a very powerful mode. And you also have the studio, which can be called a pro mode, which you will only reserve to very advanced users or integrators. Going back to the Ville de Nantes project, these very efficient and adapted contribution interfaces were a choice criteria for the Jahia solution. So if you look at the sites in the edit mode, it is quite unique in the WCM solutions to have such a level of integration between the content management and the website preview. And in this example, it's very easy to add news, actuality, in orange. You just have to click on the green button. Anyone can do it. And that's why Jahia, with his several interfaces, is adapted to many WCM usage scenarios. So after you have created your content and previewed it using the many preview feature of Jahia, you have to publish it. So I must apologize because you are lacking the end of the titles. Once again, I cannot show you all the Jahia publishing features. You have the channel selection and dynamic serving. I mean, you can say that this block will display on mobile and this will not. You can say that you have a publishing overlay that will show you what has changed on your web page before publishing it. You have publishing at time, and you have a very advanced preview that allows you to choose a specific user, a specific device, a specific orientation to see what your website will like in the future. For the Ville de Nantes use case, what I'd like to show you is how the mobility subject was dealt with. You can see that it's the main page for the desktop platforms. In this page, it was thought. It was conceived by thinking how what information the final user will need. So here you have all the news, the agenda of the events, and the quick links that are all the same page. But then when you are on a tablet, your needs will change, and so you will want to highlight different things. So in this example, you can see that we have the news and the services that they're putting forward. And this strategy is even more highlighted in the smartphone version, when you can see that when you are using and browsing the website of Nantes on your smartphone, you will generally want to use quick links to certain specific services that the website provides, and things like administrative processes, you won't be using them on your smartphone. So we have rebuilt the website flow for this device to highlight what's most important in this context. So, a very important step that is sometimes neglected by the business solution is to provide tools for your users to maintain important volume of data. So, once again, Jahia provides a lot of tools. You have a lot of managers that give you a 360 view on your content, by on your images, on your document, on your websites. You have history and usage tab in the content engine that will list where content is used, and so if you change it, which pages will be impacted. But here I would like to focus on a very important issue when you are dealing with industrialization, which is content sharing. In the previous presentation, there was some action about it. Here I will talk, in the Nantes case, we have different type of content which call for different problems and solutions. You had what we can call the hot content, the breaking news. When you have a news that goes out and you want to publish it on the various websites and that you don't have dedicated teams for each website, you will want to have a common content repository and dynamic lists that will update and propagate the news among the websites. So that's the first use case. A second use case will be what can be called a cold content, reference content, content that don't move very often. In this case, you have the same problem of avoiding content duplication, since if you duplicate the content, when you want to update it, you will have to update it and every copies, so that's more work. For these two use cases, in the context of Ville de Nantes, we implemented two different solutions. For all that, what can be called old content, we use what Jahia provides natively as a single and common content repository. All structured content is stored in the GCR, but for the cold content, the reference content, there were a specificity in this project because the town already had a central database for reference content. May it be events, associations, directory, installation or facilities directory. And in this case, we have to integrate Jahia with this external database and these external business applications, which will be the subject of my third part. So to illustrate these two kind of content in the Ville de Nantes context, the cold content will be news that you have on the main page, and cold content will be, in this case, the association directory, which is not in Jahia, and I will show you how we can very easily integrate business and content. So that's it for features about the Jahia content lifecycle. If you have any questions on a step, yes? You have two ways of managing content. Jahia is very strong with content references. I mean, you create your content and you publish it in the pages, and it's one content. So when you update it, it's updated everywhere it's used. But you can also copy it if you want the two content to live their separate lives, and when you change one, you don't want the other one to be updated. Does reply your question? Okay. So you can look at the Jahia use guides. We are very comprehensive on the Jahia features, and in French and in English. So industrialization, a quick view of the many features that are needed in this context, and some of what Jahia provides. The key feature of industrialization in this context will be to have a multi-site platform, and by this I mean two main things, which are to have site management interfaces and a way to quickly deploy new websites from a template or in an ad hoc way with a specific new website. A very important feature is to be able to reuse the work that you've done, the code, and as it's the main focus of Jahia 7, you can see all the other sessions. And finally, when you set up a big platform, the technical architecture aspect is quite important to deliver the needed speed. What principles were implemented in the Nantes use case? It was very quite simple, and it derived from just one phrase: do the work once and only once. Never duplicate your code, and reuse everything. And when you reuse, you only develop what has changed, and you never copy and paste what you have done before. Specifically, in these platforms, to reuse what has been done, you can master websites were implemented, and from a master website, they were reused and overloaded to provide child sites where we only developed was different from the main site. And I won't go in details to all the Jahia site architecture, but a website is comprised of templates and modules. Templates are theme plus page layout, and modules are content definitions, views, and custom code. And every single part of these additions can and should be reused. In the NANTE.FR platform, you have the master website, which is the main website, NANTE.FR, and we deployed so that's the first website, and since it's in production, I can't talk to you about, but we have at least 6-10 other industrialized websites in the works. So in this case, they share the same site templates, but in this in the case on the right, which is a website dedicated to a September event, we only overloaded the site theme to change colors, to change some blocks, but we only coded what was different. And I insist, when you start to duplicate anything, content, code, you are placing a heavy burden on your website evolutivity and maintenance, because the cost will be much higher in the long run. A quick overview of the technical architecture of the platform. So Jahia is natively allow for clustering. So for Nantes, we deployed 2 visitors nodes which save web pages for visitors, and a dedicated node for contribution and research and search, which is quite a standard way of deploying Jahia. The primary objective of load for this platform was 50,000 visits a day. That's about it. And that's it for this very quick introduction to industrialization. If you have any question on the master child websites, the module reuse, you can see that some blocks were shared between websites. Those are the same block, the same code. It's in the deployment process that the archive are generated without cloud duplication. Okay, so next we will maybe go a bit further from Jahia. The question here is and it's a question that we very frequently encounter in our integration projects. The IT, the client always has some business-heavy applications. We want to use the Jahia features to provide content, and we want to provide the user with a seamless page without any separation, without him knowing that this part comes from this source and this part comes from Jahia. Many solutions were introduced over the time, from the ugly old E-frame to the modern Jahia modules, and now the OSGI modules, and the steel-bound portlets. That's a small opinion. What we believe here at Smile, and you can ask our CTO, which is upstairs, is that WCM or Portal or any kind of software actually should not bear business value or business code. Often we can see that some integrators want to redevelop a lot of custom code in the WCM, which we would advise strongly against it, because it would introduce a heavy coupling between your content, your WCM, and your business code and the business value. So when you want to improve or make evolutions on one part or the other, you will impact the other one, and so the cost will be much, much higher. And if you want to completely change one, if you have developed, if you have linked heavily the two, you will have to redevelop everything. And in the long run, a low coupling solution is needed. And that's why we have created a tool that's called ESI-GATE, which is a low coupling approach to content and business integration. It's very, very simple. It only works with HTTP calls, which is the basis of the web. How does it work? Generally, it will be placed in a reverse proxy, which means it will intercept the request of the client and forward this request to your WCM. And when the WCM will render the page, it will say, in this place, I need this block from this source, and this source will be a business app. And then ESI-GATE will call this business source to get the block and merge the two and serve the page. It's very, very simple. It works with any kind of technology if you can just insert comments in the code. And since one part doesn't have to know about the other, it introduces very, very low coupling. So I just described the basic working of the solution, but over time we have improved it with cache, authentication management, block extraction, when you can't define blocks in the providers. And now it's autonomous open source project. You can see on the ESI-GATE.org websites, and other integrators and sponsors of the JahiaOne event use it as well. In the Ville de Nantes use case, here the issue was to integrate seamlessly the Jahia content, which is the header, the footer, and the right column. And to achieve that, we use an ESI-GATE integration mode, which is the block mode. And so it's the process I just described. So ESI-GATE will ask Jahia for the page. The page will be given without the center block. Then ESI-GATE will ask the business application for the center block and merge the two and serve the page. So that's a very easy way to integrate business and content. A more advanced mode is when you have a business application that have several screens and advanced forms. It's only the business forms that know what page will be next. So we have a solution for this case, which is nearly the same as the case I just showed. But in this case, it's the business application, in this case the center of the page, which says, here is my content. I need to be decorated with the Jahia blocks. So please do. And that's what's happened in this case. So with just this simple tool and this simple mode, we are able to integrate a complex business form. If you go on the Europcar website, all the content is served by Jahia. But if you are booking a car, all the steps of the booking pass are a specific Java application. It's the same for online subscription on AG2R. The same of if you go to a French vacation website, Bellambra, the business part is specific code and the content is Jahia. So if you go on Voyages NCF, which is the biggest French website for booking train, the content is in a WCM and the business part are merged with ESI-GATE. So this tool is very simple and more deployed. Any question on ESI-GATE or use case of this tool?
ESI-GATE is ESI-GATE a solution that you provide, or is it Jahia?
It was a tool developed by Smile, and we often use it with Jahia or other WCMs. But it's open source and free, and you can check it out on ESI-GATE.org.
Okay, thanks.
It's an architecture solution that we advise in some case when you have to merge content.
In some very particular case. I mean, particularly, for instance, when you have PHP applications that have to be run besides Java architecture, this is one way to implement it. Of course, aggregate content and application is clearly the heart of Jahia as a platform, and a lot of this is one choice to make an implementation, of course, but the new feature, the new web form frameworks we implemented, and particularly today there is a technical presentation about the external data provider, the fact that tomorrow morning I will announce a particular new offering on portal implementation will again accelerate and make really smoother the integration between external application, external data, and Jahia as a user experience platform, making such implementation in a lot of cases probably less interesting, but again, considering legacy systems or systems that are not using the same languages or are not hosted on the same environment, this is a solution that you still have to look at. And clearly, in that particular case, Smile develop a very interesting expertise and deploy it on some project. Yeah.
Yeah. So content and business integration is a thorny issue, and it has been for decades.
Yeah.
So we'll look into this new solution. Any other question on the business side integration? Okay. So, a quick conclusion. So, in our opinion, Jahia is clearly the platform of choice in this context of large communication platforms with its huge WCM scope. With, I mean, you have everything in Jahia to support your content lifecycle. You have very advanced content sharing. In terms of advanced websites management, you have dedicated interface which are completely new in Jahia 7 at last. You have the seat templates, the code, the seat templates model. This morning, Serge Hubert, the CTO of Jahia, just deployed a new JahiaOne website on the Jahia platform by using a template on a drag and drop list, and it took 5 seconds. All the industrialization point of view, which SOB code modularity or code sharing, Jahia, with the 6.5, made huge advances with its Jahia modules, and now with Jahia 7, you can see that it's a big focus to make the work of developers easier, and it's a prerequisite when you are implementing a big platforms. And for Ville de Nantes, we have now a very happy client with a project that was on schedule, which is all the more important in our context with the election blackout, because if the project were not on time, it could not be published for a year because it's illegal. They have a stable and efficient platforms with a lot of sites to come. So the go-live were in March, but since then we have not stopped working, and we have maybe 10 websites that are waiting to go out. And this platform, with its responsive interface, its reference content, its shared technical basis, along with other projects. They have an open data platform. They have this e-démarche project. Now Ville de Nantes is very advanced in terms of information publication in public government. So this is the end. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. If you want to send me emails or follow me on Twitter, you have the contacts here.